I made a post a while back and I called it Why Creation is Finished May Be the Most Important Understanding of All. And the reason why I found it profound enough to share was because when I was in meditation one night, I saw all these different versions of myself, and it was like an infinite amount. And there was versions of me that were slightly different, some radically different, in both directions, good and bad. And I realized that they were all within me and that I had the power to believe them into being if I wanted to. And the reason why I found that profound was because I truly, I think at that moment, I thought that I had to become things in the world instead of accepting what I already am inside. And I wrote something to something else, building upon that idea. And I want to read it to you. And I write, since man is all imagination, the difference between you and your current self-concept, your state, and the desired state or the desired version of yourself is simply a reformed imagination. The version that you desire believes they are that self-concept. They don't doubt it. But in the end, it's all you. For that desired version, that desired state is still all imagination. So the difference does not lie in the physical structure, but in the arrangement of imagination. If you associate yourself with all imagination, then you can see how fluid you are, how translucent. For opacity is believing in solely the senses. So you free yourself from the opacity of the sense man, and you allow yourself to feel one with imagination, the inner man. For as Neville said, if you judge after appearances, you will continue to be enslaved by the evidence of your senses. So if I limit my judgment to myself only after appearances, or only to the past, then I remain as I currently am. However, were I to see that all these versions, these states of me are inside of me, and I have the power to believe them into being, then I can expand. For when I limit myself, I'm actually limiting myself inside imagination. So I enter myself and I treat my own imagination as my own place of creation. I can change what I desire to change. I can expand what I desire to expand, and I can drop what I don't desire. There is nothing and no one else to change but self. And if I can see that the self is not this physical body, but the inner man, then I can change. Continuing to judge after my senses leaves me paralyzed and in sin. But it is Christ that comes and heals the paralyzed and takes them out of sin. But I have to see myself. You have to see yourself as your own Christ. You are the inner man. You have the power to free yourself from your own self-paralyzation. And what is demoted can be promoted if I know I'm the inner man. So now I'm going to speak about that, is that if I know that I'm the inner man, that I'm fluid, if I associate myself with this physical body and the senses, well, then I remain as I am. I can't change anything. And in the end, it's all things. There are things we desire and things undesirable in our worlds. And it can be hard to accept that I'm the inner man who creates my world when I'm creating something I don't like. I'm creating undesirable things. But in the end, it's all just things. And Neville tells us to go to the creator of things, our imagination, the maker of things. So I'm told to go within myself and open my inner eyes and see exactly who I am inside. And I can notice, if I go within myself, I will notice that I have the power to resurrect the past. I have the power to see different types of futures for me. I don't have to go anywhere. I can just enter myself and see that I have this power. I have the power to make myself low or high. It's up to me. The Bible tells us that the mind is God's throne. So you can actually, you, the inner man, can sit inside yourself as if it's your throne. And it says the earth is his footstool. You extend your imaginary legs and place them on top of Earth. You can envision this. It's a symbol of who you should be inside. So, we become our own saviors. We become our own Christs. We free ourselves from being paralyzed for years. We can have the power to do that if we know we're Christ. I think a very common thing that happens when you study this work is you might come into contact with a certain train of thought that will make you feel that you can't imagine this, or you can't have that, or you can't see yourself in this type of way. But is it that you can't do it, or is it that you're afraid to do it? Because there's a difference. And what I've learned is that there's truly nothing to be afraid of inside. Unless you're afraid of yourself. That's really the only thing you can be afraid of. Because even the doubter, Satan is your own creation. It's a thing created. And this has nothing to do with deserving things. The inner man, the idea of worthiness needs to be thrown out. For everything inside yourself is yours, including all these different versions. And I want to reiterate that the desired version that you want to be inside yourself, which is just yourself, believes fully in the self-concept that they are. So there's a version of you that fully believes they are the thing that they desired wants to be. It's a version inside. And all these are in you. So I don't go outward to get it. I enter within myself, and I imagine it already being so. So I think that kind of realization that it's not in the physical structure of things that I need to change, but the arrangement, the reformed imagination. And I reform it to accepting that new desired version. I accept that I am that because I am. I just simply notice that I am, or I accept that I am. I become aware of being it. I know it. Whatever it is, words you want to use, whatever feelings you want to use to get there, that's up to you. But I would advise you not to go anywhere. Just sit down and commune with yourself, as Neville would say. Commune with your own heart. Ask yourself what it is that you desire. Be honest. And accept that you have that, or you're the version who has it. See yourself. Visualize yourself having it. And you'll see that this is a version of me. And then visualize another version of yourself not having it. Or visualize a version of yourself having something else. You'll see there's all these different people in me. But they're all just me, and they're all rooted in imagination. And at one point, the person I am now was rooted in my imagination. So I rearrange and reform my own mind. So repentance, the radical change of mind, is a gift. This should never be seen as a difficult work to change one's mind. It's a gift to change one's mind. It's a gift to enter in yourself and change what you desire to be changed. It's your own imagination. Don't worry about if it's selfish or what society tells you or what the outer man will want you to think. Allow yourself to be the chooser. Don't give up your selective power that you have within yourself. It's not something that should be taken lightly. You truly have the power to go within and decide things, just as though you were sitting on a throne. So, if you guide your thoughts with power and love, you can truly create a better life for yourself. So don't underestimate the power of yourself. There's so many times where we think we can just imagine all these things, and we come into contact with our harvest. We might not enjoy our harvest, but it's our harvest. I sowed these seeds. I was told that seeds grow after their own kind. So if I want to grow something wonderful after its own kind, I must plant it. But I plant it within myself. I don't go outside of me. I accept that it's planted. So, again, I just wanted to stress mainly the point that the version of yourself that you desire believes they are that self-concept. So you don't have to try your hardest to become that version of you. It's something that already is in imagination. It already is that way. It's something that should be accepted, celebrated. It's something that should be enjoyed It's something that should be loved and protected, not something to just be in constant hope of maybe one day I'll become it. Maybe one day I'll become it. Associate with the inner man. That's the outer man speaking. The inner man, the future and the past are not things that can't be brought up instantly. They're present realities to the inner man. So if you associate yourself with that being instead of this sense man, well, then I think you'll be more free. I think you'll be freer than what you are now. And try to open up your imaginal eyes. These eyes they can see things beyond what your senses show. And try to open them more. Start to notice. Go within yourself and notice what is within me. There's all these versions. What else is within me? The past is within me and I can bring it up. What else is within me? All these different types of futures I can have. There's all these catastrophes as well within me. But there's also these lovely things within me. All these things. It's just a bunch of things within me. But I'm told not to go to something outside of me, but go to the maker of things, which is my own imagination. And I go in there and I change with power, not as something in hoping. You have the authority to change things inside. As Neville would say, Christ has the authority to forgive sin. Well, if I associate myself with that being, then I have the authority to forgive my own sin and forgive the sin of others. And how many times should you forgive yourself? I remember forgiveness and faith is like the two conditions that are required for repentance. So a radical change in mind, I must have faith. And how many times should I forgive? I have to have forgiveness. He says 70 times 7. So I keep forgiving myself over and over and over again until it's forgiven. It has the possibility to be changed. Imagination always does. It's always open to reform. So if you allow yourself to be open to reform, it will come down to you. How open, how free are you willing to be inside yourself? It's a choice. Regardless of the senses, if you didn't have to have the senses, a thought accepted doesn't need a sense. It can just be accepted about yourself. You don't need to make it conform to something outside of you. You're allowed to accept something new about yourself. And we're taught that if you persist in that new change, that if you celebrate in that new change of you, you will become it in the world. Because that's how, in some sense, you became yourself currently now. At some point, you were imagining these things. I know it's true for me. I can look to my life and it's not that different than what I've been imagining. And I notice that if I do change, my world does change. But if I limit myself, I'm actually limiting myself inside my own imagination, inside myself. So it's up to me to free myself. All limitation is self-imposed to the inner man, because there's no one else who can do it but him. He's the creator of things. So I know this is going to help you, because you're going to start seeing that these things that you want to be aren't outside of you, and they're actually you. And it really comes down to learning to expand your forgiveness, to expand your self. That's truly what it is. You have associated self with the body. You've associated self with the senses. But now learn to expand self and associate it with imagination. You're not just the body. When you go to sleep and you find yourself in a dream, and you would say, I'm there. That's the same I am that's here. So you're not just bound by the body. You don't have to bind yourself to the body during the day. You're allowed to start associating yourself with the being within that has the freedom and the authority and the permission to change. You don't need the senses to change. As Neville would say, I can be locked up in a dungeon. I can imagine myself free as the wind, and I would become so. That's how confident he is in his imagination. And that same confidence is in you. It's in me. It's in all of us. We're one. And we can utilize this creative power for good or for bad or whatever it is. But I'd say try to guide it with love, with celebration, with joy. You'll have a better life that way. But you could use it in a negative way if you want, a destructive way. But I don't think once you see the unity with us, it's quite difficult to. But yeah, I think that this will help you see that it's time to be translucent. If you're listening to these things, I think it's time for you to free yourself inside and notice, become curious and notice what is within me. You'll see it's everything. You have everything within you. You have all the waterfalls, you have coliseums, you have everything within you. You can just spark it up within. So you lose nothing. You lack nothing. It's all within.